A couple documents, the old indictment and the new indictment, pulled up. We'll parse through them together. We'll see what's new in this new one. Because what Jack Smith is trying to do here is very clever. It's actually not that clever at all. He's trying to do an end run around what the Supreme Court has mandated them to do. Remember, the Supreme Court has already weighed in on immunity, said this case is going back down to Judge Chutkan. She needs to take this case, have an evidentiary hearing so we can distinguish immune conduct that should not be a part of this criminal prosecution from other stuff that may be part of the prosecution. And it's all a big jumbled mess because Jack Smith, an illegitimate prosecutor, doesn't know what he's doing. He is now tried to avoid all of that. He does not want to have that hearing. He does not want to have this argument. So he decided, I'll just strip all of this out for you, Judge. Don't worry about it. We'll be able to just forget about all of the immunity stuff and have this trial like next week or something. And so we'll go through it. We'll see what it means. I think that he's scrambling. He knows he's not even a real prosecutor, not even a real boy. He's fake and illegitimate, and he's stolen $24 million in from our treasury, from our own pockets to prosecute their political opponent. So we're going to talk about all that. We're excited about this. Seems like they're scrambling a bit.
I didn't want to go live, but I said, fuck it.
Jack Smith.
Since I was sitting in line
whatever he can
for so long.
This thing moving forward. Now, also, we saw that Trump has been vindicated after Mark Zuckerberg came out and now flipped on the Democrats. And a lot of people are giving him, some credit on this, saying, well, this is a good start. It's nice to have Mark working his way over here. And I'm not that gracious as those other people. All right, I'm still irritated by the fact that he gave, $400 million to Democrat get out the vote efforts back in 2020, including, if you remember, in October, they were like, oh crap, Trump might win this thing. And so in the middle of COVID and all that, Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan, they also wrote out another $100 million check for the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, or it was actually back at the time, the Civic CFCT, something like that, TL, I got it pulled up, where they're just giving them money, get out the vote, hundreds of millions of dollars for Democrats. Now Mark Zuckerberg lets his hair grow out, puts on a necklace, drinks a beer, does some wakeboarding, does a little Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is actually pretty cool, and then suddenly he's like a MAGA bro. He writes a letter or something and okay, everything's forgiven. No, not so fast, everyone. Not until you cough up $500 million for Republicans this time, all right? Anyways, we'll talk about it. Then we got RFK.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of rain here.
From our members only stream this morning.
A little bit of rain.
Where we were talking about RFK's censorship battle, and he had a nice little victory on that. He's got a
branches in the road and shit.
Recently, saying that his case can
we're all right. We picked up some food.
Opinion, not too long of one.
Pretty good.
And so we'll run through that here today, the opinion that came out from a federal court. And then, you may have seen this one from Trump. We now have a debate seemingly locked in. Trump came out, made the announcement, and the announcement was that they settled on the terms. It's going to be on September 10th, and there will be, I think, the mic muted. CNN is confirming this with Kamala campaign people, but it looks like the microphone will be off. Sounds like they will be standing, and it sounds like there will be no notes for cheating Kamala Harris. And so we'll talk about that. Also, Kamala is now going to sit down for an interview. It's going to be coming up soon, but she's not going to do it alone. She's going to bring her emotional support vice president, put him in one of those little vests, and bring him right on the airplane with her over to the interview. And so we'll get some 2024 updates as well. So we got some Trump stuff, some RFK stuff. We're going to say what's up, friend. COVID deal. And get this, the first topic is mass fatality management. If you're prepared, Wellness Company created the medical emergency kit. Every home in America should have at least one of these. They're packed with life-saving meds like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics like amoxicillin, Z-Pac's in there, good stuff, all backed by experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. So imagine this, no more frantic searches for a doctor, no more emergency waiting rooms. With a few clicks, this kit is delivered to your door. It's like having these things, an emergency kit. It's not just a luxury these days, it's a necessity. So you can protect your family by preparing now. Head on over to twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert, save $30. Links are in the description below. Don't wait until it's too late. Act now, take control, ensure you're protected against whatever comes next. That's twc.health/Robert. Code Robert to save that $30, and you're going to get free shipping right now. The link is in the description. We appreciate you being here and supporting our friends at the Wellness Company. All right, and so, without any further ado, let's get into the business on the day, because we got some good stuff to attend to. Starting with Jack Smith. Jack Smith returns, re-indicting President Trump. You can see a superseding indictment filed fresh out of the oven right in the middle of this election season in the District of Columbia, the D.C. Circuit. You know, this is Judge Tutkin's courtroom. And this case has been pretty quiet for a while. We have had a lot of time to think about it because it's been pending at the Supreme Court. At the Supreme Court, we were arguing over immunity because there was an original indictment that had a lot of immune conduct as alleged by Trump. And so let's get our bearings straight. Where are we? This is Jack Smith's, who is not even a real prosecutor. As you're illegally appointed, you have no power for you. Congress doesn't have any statute by law that authorizes you. So get out. So that case is gone bye-bye. Jack Smith is appealing this, but we're now in Washington, D.C. on the January 6th case, not the classified documents case. We remember back on this case, we have Molly Gaston, who has been writing many motions in this matter from the beginning. We've been covering her work, and she was the same prosecutor who said that the defense attorneys don't really need time to review the evidence in the case. There was a lot of discovery. And Molly was explaining that, 8 million pages, it's not that much. And they don't even need to read it because it's cumulative and duplicative. And what Molly did for the defense attorneys, because she's such a nice prosecutor, she organized it all for them. Put little tabs on it and highlighted it and put some sticky notes in there and a little table of contents and said, here you go, defense lawyers, I've organized it for you. And of course, a defense attorney wouldn't give a crap about what a prosecutor says are the most important pieces of their case or something. Okay, thank you for that. How about you don't touch the evidence? You just give it to us. Right? We'd like to know kind of where things are and things like that, but that doesn't give you a basis for saying we don't get to review it. We need like 2 weeks or 2 months to review 8 million pages of documents? No. Your little organizational skills don't replace discoverability and discovery review, Molly. Anyway, so she's back on this case, as we can tell. And this is the government now noticing the court, Judge Chutkin, that there is going to be a superseding indictment. And that means there's a new indictment, right? We had an old one. Think of the first one, the original indictment, as first draft 1. That draft had some problems in it. So what we're going to be doing is replace it. Now, oftentimes what you see in a superseding indictment is new charges. You see something substantial that has changed. But no, not in this case. In fact, well, there are things that change. But it's Jack Smith taking out the problems that were in the first indictment. We'll explain more. He writes today, or Molly writes, type this one out, didn't use her highlighters, thankfully for us. Says today, a federal grand jury in D.C. returned a superseding indictment, a new one, second draft, charging the defendant, in this case Trump, with the same criminal offenses that were charged in the original indictment. Now, the superseding indictment, which was presented to a new grand jury that had not previously heard evidence in this case, so it's like a fresh slate, blank slate, a start over, so we're going to come back to that, reflects the government's efforts to respect and to implement what the Supreme Court said that we have to do in their Trump decision, this case, which went up to the Supreme Court and was decided in favor of Trump, that there is presidential immunity. Now, it's not absolute for everything that you do while you're the president, as the weirdos on the left would have you believe, although no one ever made that argument ever, except them in their minds. There's different categories, and you can have a presumption of immunity for official conduct, or at least conduct that's arguably official. If it's presidential conduct, if it's official conduct, if it is something that the president has the constitutional power to do, of course that's immune. Can't prosecute the president for doing their job, obviously, which was always obvious, except for the legal scholars like Judge Luddick. So wrong on everything he's ever said, but he's on CNN every day. But the government does not oppose waiver of Trump's appearance, okay, because it's kind of like we're kind of starting this over a little bit, for arraignment on the superseding indictment, because he needs to be arraigned on the new charges and the new facts underlying the charges. Now, as this court directed, remember, the government will confer with the defense and make a joint proposal to the extent possible regarding pretrial litigation in the status report that's due on Friday. Okay, so there it is. It's due on Friday. So Jack Smith is scrambling to get this done before he has to tell the judge how he wants to handle this case. Because the way that he's going to have to handle this case, based on this report, is going to be pretty bad for him. So let me just share with you what this looks like when you compare and contrast these two documents. So you can see over here on the left, we have the original indictment. You see this one was filed August 1st, 2023. It's a 45-pager. This is the new indictment filed August 27th, just over a year, and it's a 36-pager. And you can see as we scroll through this, first page, largely the same. Superseding indictment versus the word indictment on this. As we scroll down, we're trying to determine where the differences are between the two documents. Now you can see here that this paragraph looks like it's been deleted. So right here before count one, you see count one right here. There's a paragraph right here. In the new indictment, they have now added a paragraph right there. And it says, in furtherance of these conspiracies, Trump tried but failed to enlist the vice president, who is also his running mate, and by virtue of the Constitution, the president of the Senate, who plays a ceremonial role. So it looks like that was added. Then we pick back up. Then we see the conspiracies here. Donald Trump that looks like it's largely the same. The purpose of the conspiracy, largely the same. Now this changes a little bit. So the defendant enlisted co-conspirators. In this new indictment, we go all the way A through E in the new indictment, but in the other one, we go A through F. All right, so in the original, we go A through F. So you can see they just are deleting stuff out. So think of it's all being bundled up in the original, and now they're trying